Larry Bird played in this era, I think he'd be in Europe.
Is this the dagger?
What up, JP Nation? It's your boy JP. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to my channel. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to my channel where we do basketball reaction videos and other basketball content. If you love the game of basketball like I do, make sure you subscribe to ItzJP down below and click the notification bell. You know where our next upload is on the road to 40K. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Today we are reacting to BTM. How Larry Bird used to cook Dennis Rodman, as you've seen at the beginning part of the video with Dennis Rodman talking about Larry Bird from the interview with DJ Flad, talking about that Larry Bird in today's NBA will be playing in Europe and that Jokic was so much better than Larry Bird. Let me tell you, I mean, Dennis Rodman was a hell of a defender, man. Shout out, I'm going to give positive things about Dennis Rodman. He was a hell of a defender. Guy that could rebound the ball for days, man. Like, you know, him in Detroit was just unbelievable to watch. Him with the Chicago Bulls was unbelievable. Him with the Spurs, you know, just a little bit. You get a little bit of a taste right there. You know, he's a character, man, for sure, though. But he's one of the greatest players of all time, though. But, yeah, back in that day right there, Larry Bird used to cook him. I'm just trying to tell you, he used to cook him. So I'm very intrigued to watch this reaction video, man, and definitely let me know what you want me to react to next too as well. Let's get into the video, man. I'm excited, man. Back up the likes too as well.
Dennis Rodman in a collision with
okay, Rodman.
Isaiah Thomas was called for that foul. Eddie Johnson getting set to come on.
Time machine. My name is Sean David. Let's talk some old
Shout out to Sean David.
Basketball.
I love this
stuff. Not too long
stuff.
ago, I started a series called How a Certain Player Cooked Another Player. And to me, those videos are super fun because it actually shows that in the NBA, the great players are unstoppable. And in this episode, I want to show you how Larry Bird used to cook Dennis Rodman. Two of my favorite players of all time. Dennis Rodman is one of the greatest defenders of all time. Larry Bird,
no match for Larry Bird.
But before we start with that, let me ask you guys for a small favor. Please take a look at the video. I think it would make sense to rewind it back to the 1980s, where the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons and the Boston Celtics had their rivalry, and to take a look how Larry Bird and Dennis Rodman had their matchups. Let's take a look. Oh yes, the 1980s. A time where the NBA was truly special. In those days, anything could happen. We had countless rivalries, countless fights, and countless superstars. All in all, I just loved it. One of my favorite rivalries were the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons versus the Boston Celtics, led by Larry Legend, Larry Bird. These two teams were stacked with great players who were great defenders, had a super high basketball IQ, and would do whatever it takes to win basketball games. The Celtics were the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, and the Bad Boys were the up-and-coming team that wanted to dethrone the Celtics. And the Boston Celtics had many guys who could also score, so naturally Detroit needed to be super smart in their matchups. Of course, the Bad Boys had many great defenders like John Spider Sally, Joe Dumars, Rick Mahorn, and of course the Worm, Dennis Rodman. In the 1980s, Rodman was still a puppy and was still figuring out his role.
Pre-tattoos.
But being the smart guy that he was, he noticed that the Pistons already had enough guys who could score. So his main focus would be working harder than everybody and stop the best defensive player on the opposing team. And who would that be on the Boston Celtics? Well, of course, Larry Bird. And then there was the interview that basically shocked the entire NBA world. Now, back in the 1990s, so a little bit later, everybody knew that once you hold a microphone to Dennis Rodman's mouth, yeah, you gotta be ready for sometimes crazy stuff. But back in the 1980s, when Dennis Rodman was a rookie and still pretty new in the NBA, nobody knew what to expect. And then he said this.
Oh yeah.
Pistons had lost to the Celtics in 7 games in the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals. And in Detroit's locker room afterwards, the questions were about the superstar who dominated them again. And then things got complicated.
It starts because an unsophisticated Dennis Rodman is asked about Larry Bird, and let's be real, it's probably the first time in Dennis Rodman's life that a white guy tuned him up on basketball.
Dennis Rodman just went to Larry Bird University.
Larry Bird was the god in the NBA. You know, he's like the great white hope. And I said, but if Larry was a black guy, he'd just be a regular old basketball player. And I didn't realize what I said, you know.
Well, I remember after playing the Celtics.
Yeah, that was very controversial, just of him saying that at that time and all that, just because, you know, Larry Bird, you know, the great white hope and all. I don't want to get into it and all that, but like it was just very controversial at the time. And, you know, Isaiah Thomas, you know, really defended with Dennis Rodman. You know, I have to agree with Rodman, though. And then he got a lot of flack, too, and a lot of heat for it. And he became so hated after that, which is crazy. You know, because he was just like a likable guy and all that. But, you know, Isaiah cares so much about the team and would defend his teammates whenever necessary and all that just to win. So it kind of, you know, ruined a little image of Isaiah Thomas, though, you know, but, you know, that's the first of many crazy things that Dennis Rodman has said, though, you know, so, yeah, that was very controversial at the time, though, so.
That year, you made a comment. You said, Larry Bird is overrated in a lot of areas. Why does he get so much publicity? Because he's white. You never hear about a black player being the greatest. When you look back on that, do you still agree? Do you think that Larry Bird was overrated, or do you think you were just mad at the time?
No, I told you, I just said, I was green. I was just saying anything, man, just because, you know what, I was frustrated because, guess what, I got my ass whooped by this kid. You know, and so that's why I probably said something like that, not because I was angry or hatred or something like that. No, it just came out like that.
All right, now let's take a look how Larry Bird schooled and caught
Joe
Dennis
Dumars
Rodman.
Yes.
to return to the game.
Look at that pass. Oh, my God.
His move is supposed to be to drop back and protect on that cut.
IQ.
He's much too late.
Woo! It's good defense, but Larry Bird just better.
On the shot clock. Bird thinks.
Wow.
Anybody's ever had about Larry Bird. So when you're playing against him, you're looking into the eyes of an assessor. Bird one-on-one with Rodman.
When Larry Bird gets hot, he is hot.
Just a little bit of a screen.
That's a set.
Very smart play.
What a beauty. Johnson bounces it to Bird. That was a set play. Here's the position. DJ off the glass.
Dennis was getting his ass cooked. Oh! That 20-piece nugget.
Pass Parrish. Parrish gets it from behind. He kept that alive. Bird's open. McHale with a pass. McHale spotting Larry Bird underneath. Right here, Rodman.
Using that body.
Two shot blockers, Rodman and Saleh.
Wow.
No, only two. He was stiffed on the line.
42 and running.
Left hand too. Oh.
Get that one out of the book. Bird says, you can't find me, Dennis Rodman. And look at the move. By the time Rodman gets back out to a Bird on court.
He was cooking Rodman.
James Edwards certainly getting the shot opportunities early. Dennis Rodman in a collision with Larry Bird. And they both landed in the first row.
As the shot goes up, check the battle out underneath. A headbutt, double arm wraparound, and a takedown trip by Dennis Rodman to Larry Bird. They're working hard out here to come up with the basketball, I'd say.
I don't know if some of you guys remember, but I had Dennis Rodman on my show, I think like 2 years ago. And we talked, obviously, also about Larry Bird. And he seemed to be very much understanding about that his comments back then were, a little bit outlandish and a little bit out there. But then, a couple of weeks ago, I found a new interview of Dennis Rodman. And he said basically almost the same thing. Okay, not exactly the same thing, but he said that in today's NBA, Larry Bird would play in Europe. What?
Larry Bird played in this era, I think he'd be in Europe.
What? What?
So I'm just letting you know, man.
Oh, Dennis, I love you, man. I love you, man. You are so wrong on so many different levels right there, man. Oh, my God.
Really? You know, like I said, I'm just saying you'd be somewhere over there.
I don't know what Dennis Rodman is talking about, but I do think that it's worth discussing if he is more or less skilled than Jokic.
Now, as I mentioned in my other videos where a certain player cooked another player, back in the 1980s and the 1990s, no matter how good of a defender you were, there are just certain players you can't stop. And especially when it comes to a Michael Jordan or a Larry Bird, I mean, it's obvious that, yeah, there's nothing you can do. And with Dennis Rodman being such a sensational defender, that again proves to me how good Larry Bird was. Because to me as a basketball fan, it really hurts that there are players and fans in today's world that doubt that Larry Bird was this sensational player. I mean, honestly, if you are a true old school, and not a true old school, but if you are a true basketball fan, take the time, watch like 2 or 3 full games of Larry Bird, and if you have a little knowledge of the NBA and basketball, there is no denying that you can see that Larry Bird was the truth. All right, you guys. Anyway, that was it for today's episode.
And Sean Davis, right? Shout out to him for this video, man. Like, Larry Bird, like, if you haven't watched a lot of Larry Bird and you're a young person and then you're like, who's this Larry Bird? Or like, why does everybody keep talking about Larry Bird? All you gotta do is do your homework and watch highlights and clips, man. Man, Larry Bird was the truth. He was cooking guys left to right, man. You ask anybody, you ask any NBA legend, they'll tell you how cold Larry Bird is. You know, from Gary Payton to Michael Jordan to Isaiah Thomas to Magic Johnson to a lot of different NBA legends. Like, they would tell you how cold Larry Bird was and that how he frustrated them every single night just playing against him. He was just so smart. He was smarter than everybody. His skill set was unbelievable, though. And Dennis Rodman was a hell of a defender. He was a great defender, man. For the Detroit Pistons and Chicago Bulls. I mean, he was a great defender. He's a great rebounder, though. But it just tells you how great Larry Bird was. When Larry Bird just cooked Dennis Rodman just couldn't do anything about it, even hitting shots with his left hand. You can't really do anything about it, man. Like, you get cooked by Larry, that's fine, because it just shows you how great of a player Larry Bird was and how much smarter Larry Bird was. If you've seen those clips right there when he was just outthinking Dennis Rodman before Dennis Rodman could make a move, I mean, that just tells you the greatness and the IQ of Larry Bird. So definitely shout out to Sean David once again for the video. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts about the video and about Dennis Rodman versus Larry Bird, and also Dennis Rodman's comments from Vlad TV. Make sure you subscribe to ItzJustJP for more content and click the notification bell. You know where our next upload is, on the road to 40K. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm JP, and we out of here. Peace.